All right, hey guys, it's Jeff Keighley here at DICE in Las Vegas with the one and only Michael Pachter for a special edition of the Pach-Attack. You're letting me on, just like we bring you on to the bonus round, you're letting me now on to a special edition Pach-Attack because we've got a big announcement coming up with Sony on February 20th, the PlayStation meeting, and we're counting down now to this meeting. What is anticipated, Pachter? How likely is it they're going to announce PlayStation 4 here?
Oh, write it in stone. 100%.
Okay. 100%.
Happening.
Get the announcement of PlayStation 4.
And by the way,
at this event.
no one told me that. I'm making that up.
Well, it's probably pretty fair, as you said, that that it feels like this is the right time. PlayStation meetings have really only been done to sort of announce. They did it in Japan. The last one was announced for the NGP or Vita. All right, so PlayStation 4 will be announced on the 20th. You're calling it. What do you think we're gonna see? Are we gonna see the box? Are we gonna see games? How far do you think Sony's gonna take it?
I'm sure you're going to see form factor, so they'll show you the outside of the box.
Yeah.
I expect they'll give you some of the specifications, so they'll probably tell you what microprocessor, how fast it'll run, what the graphics card looks like. The leak that we saw on online last week, I think that the specs are probably pretty close. I mean, the leak said AMD processor a lot faster than the current.
We've been hearing that for a while. It all seems to make sense that we'll see how much RAM it has. Does it have 8 gigs, 4 gigs, things like that? But I feel like, as you said, AMD sounds like going to be doing the graphics on the PlayStation. It also sounds like the Xbox. I mean, they're going to be similar specs for both machines. It sounds like.
I think jury's still out on Xbox. I think it might be that processor, but I don't think they've finalized specs yet.
Okay.
I think they've sent out dev kits, but I think they're still tweaking things. I don't know anything. It's just kind of their silence. They're waiting. They want to see what Sony does. I think they're staying flexible so they can pack in a little bit more power. I think at the February 20th event, you're going to get a lot of first-party game announcements.
Yeah.
I saw Shu yesterday, the head of Sony Studios, yes, and Shu told me he was definitely going to be there and looking forward to seeing me.
Right.
And I asked him, are you flying back or are you staying in the United States? He's going back to Tokyo and back to New York. He's not making 2 round-the-world trips just to come in and talk about the future of PlayStation. He's there to talk about the lineup. I think it's going to be pretty robust. I think the gamers are going to get excited because we're going to hear about good games. Probably at least 2 or 3 brand new titles, first-party exclusives. I would expect you're going to get some support from key developers. Probably Ubisoft will be there. Right. Probably Electronic Arts will be there.
I feel like that's always, even back to PlayStation 3, like the CEO at the time of EA, Larry Probst, came on stage. These publishers all want to be there at the announcement. Yeah, Ubisoft, they can't miss a platform announcement.
I think that's right.
Something, right?
And EA's been kind of spotty because they were at the original Wii U. They weren't there this past E3.
Right.
So, you never really know, but I think everybody's pretty excited about the next gen. If you listen to Ubisoft's call, they're talking big expectations for next gen. EA, same thing, big expectations for next gen. So I think it's a big event. Right. I think Sony's being super, super smart here because they're talking about something in February. It's highly unlikely you're going to hear a peep out of Microsoft till June. So Sony has this 3-month runway of press coverage.
Which is interesting because just a few weeks ago, Kaz Hirai, the CEO of Sony, now said, we're going to let Microsoft go first.
Yeah.
So was he just bluffing?
Yeah, that's complete BS. Right. Sorry, Kaz, we love you. I think that Sony got enough intelligence about what Microsoft's doing, and I think that they're confident their box stacks up.
Yep.
I think where you're going to see Microsoft's box differ is it's going to have a lot of multimedia functionality that Sony probably can put in later, so it's probably going to be things that are really more advanced software. I really think Microsoft hasn't finalized yet. And I think all this crap we're hearing about blocking used games, I got to say, it's anti-gamer to do that. It does not benefit the console manufacturer to block used games.
Right.
It may benefit a publisher. I think that's even an open question because used games provide currency to buy new. But I don't think any publisher is going to really ever have the balls to sell, people a software license. And I don't think any console manufacturer is going to alienate their entire consumer base.
Well, I think a lot of people then would say, I'm not going to upgrade for a while. Right. I can't play used games.
And the other report that we got, that the Xbox is going to be always on, and we haven't heard that about the PS4 yet. I think, of course, they're going to both have the ability to be always online, because why not? Why not have background software downloads?
Now, if your console is not connected to the internet, I know there are some people out there that don't have their console connected, but in the next couple of years, it's going to have to be. If you want to get all this multimedia, if you're not playing online games,
that's
you're
exactly
going to want to have
right.
some internet.
If you want that, yes.
Right.
if you want a single player experience in your basement or in your garage because that's where your family has told you to put your next console.
Very sad, Pachter.
Well, there are people who play in the basement or play in the attic, and it's because it's out of the way and they can be loud and it doesn't matter.
Right.
15% of Xboxes are not connected to the internet. That's not because the people don't know how to do it.
Right.
It's because the box is somewhere that is just inconvenient and they don't care enough.
Right.
So Microsoft's never going to alienate that 15% of their market. Sony's not going to either. No one's going to make you be online. Nobody's going to block your used games. You might get a publisher trying it, but I don't think it lasts. So I really think the next cycle is going to look a lot like this cycle. I just think that the games are going to look even better, 240 frames a second.
You said, but let's talk about the games, the technology, the systems. Do you think are the games going to look that much better? Because last time we took a leap from standard definition to high definition. Very big leap for consoles. Before that, it was moving to CDs and things like that, or DVDs. This time, do you think are the games going to be that much better? Do you think? Or are they going to look like high-end PC games? I mean, how much of a leap do you think are people going to see on the 20th?
I think they'll look like high-end PC games looked 2 years ago. Okay. So I think that the specs...
You don't think it's even going to be as good as a high-end PC today?
No, because high-end PC chips today are still too expensive. They're still hundreds of dollars, not tens of dollars. But the high-end PC chips...
I can't imagine that people are going to roll out footage of games that you think it's going to feel like PC 2 years ago. Really?
Crysis 2? Yeah.
So you think, like, if EA shows Battlefield 4, you think it's going to look like
Battlefield 4 is going to look like Crysis 2,
right. Okay.
which is pretty freaking great.
So you think it'll still be much better on the PC compared to PS4?
Yeah, I do. I think so. I mean, look, people don't have monitors in their homes that are optimized for high-end graphics cards. The components that you have to put into the box to emulate current gen, state-of-the-art PC, that's probably $400 or $500 just for the microprocessor graphics card. They can't commercially make a box like that.
So does that then mean that Sony may have issues if Valve starts talking more about the Steam box and we see the components of that? That these new systems we're not necessarily going to see this vision of the future of these incredible graphics that we've never seen before. You think it's going to be more like sort of what you expect?
I think that's right. And I'm glad you brought up Steam box. I think you're going to see kind of a reversion back to a PC SKU that matters on games. I think that the ultra hardcore consumer who really wants the best graphics of all is going to gravitate toward a Steam box. Right. I think you're going to get games that look clearly better, and I think every publisher is going to make games in the PC format. Right. We heard today from Ubisoft, 4.5 million units of Far Cry, 1 million on the PC. That's a complete reversal from what we've seen from prior Ubisoft games. Yeah. It used to be maybe 10% of units. This is almost 25%.
Well, they used to ship, the PC version a couple months after the console version for piracy reasons and stuff. And I think you're right. You're probably going to see that more day and date, and especially if you can do big picture mode on Steam.
Totally, they're totally going to do it. And so I think the PC SKU becomes important. Obviously not for more casual games, but for first-person shooter, super high graphic, where you really care, I think that's going to be great.
So is that going to be tough then for Sony if they're going to come out and say, hey, we're the system for gamers, this is a glimpse of the future of gaming? Do you think then if you're saying people are going to see stuff that feels like it was on the PC a few years ago, is that going to be a disconnect with their message?
Yes, but you and I were talking off camera before about kind of the size of the hardcore gaming audience.
Right.
And we use various metrics. I mean, I think NeoGAF is a good proxy for the size of the hardcore gaming audience.
Yes.
90,000 people.
Right.
And I don't think every hardcore gamer is there, but I think they have a meaningful percentage between 5 and 20%. So maybe there's a couple of million hardcore gamers who are going to pop for a Steam box and get that 4K monitor and really care. I think that Sony, Microsoft can give up on 1 million people and let them play high-end PC games, and they'll go after the masses, and the masses are perfectly happy with their 60-inch 1080p TV, and it'll look really good.
But will it show 240 frames per second on that TV?
Look, the 240 frame per second thing, I've actually spoken to probably 6 developers now. Totally possible. Now each one of them
confirmed it here at DICE, Pachter.
I am 6 for 6 asking developers, can the box do it? And they're like, well, yeah, but why would we want to? Right. And actually, the pushback I've gotten pretty consistently is almost no games really run at full 1080p at 60 frames a second. Right. Mostly because the processing power just can't quite handle that. Yeah. So they dumb down the pixels a little bit. They're probably more than 1 million, less than 2 million to get to 60 frames. everybody said, we'll run everything for sure, 60 frames a second, full 1080p.
So all games you think next generation will be 60 frames minimum?
I do. I mean, it's just not going to be that hard to do.
Because I know John Carmack recently said he still thought, a lot of people would still go with 30 because you can get, it's a trade-off, right? You can do more detail, more lighting, more,
And I just think with more power in the box, you probably don't need to make as big a trade-off. Again, maybe it's a cost trade-off, but I think most of these games are going to be so big budget that the extra $300,000 for art isn't going to stop
it. It's going to be hyper-real.
Yeah, hyper-real.
What does that mean, Pachter? Hyper-real?
Not my word. I don't know.
All right, well, so 240 frames. Are you expecting any 240 frame demos at the meeting on the 20th?
I'm sure not.
No.
Maybe they'll show Pong at 240.
You never know, or the duck demo, right? Which they always do with like the little
Sony's got to do something with the ducks. And I'm thinking maybe like roast duck. What do you think?
I could see a roast duck. I could see a giant enemy crab. It's like
giant enema? Oh, giant enemy. Oh, enemy crab. Okay, enemy crab. Got it.
Yes, the giant enemy crab. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, how could they, to wrap this up, how could they surprise us? I mean, we sort of expect a lot of things. What could they do that would blow you away?
I'm a little bit intrigued by being in New York.
Right.
And I wonder why New York. It's not exactly the gaming center of the world. I mean, I know Take-Two's there, but I kind of think that's a media play.
Okay.
So I think that we might see something with Sony Music. We might see something with multimedia, with television and movies. I have a feeling they're going to kind of beef up the whole Sony store to let us buy more multimedia. I think you're going to get some media guy on stage, maybe J.J. Abrams talking about how, the Star Trek movie you can watch.
Well, the cool thing is that, Kaz Hirai is now, head of all of Sony.
Right.
And so you would think now that he has purview over movies and music and all that they could maybe finally bring the company together. And I mean, because,
PlayStation
4 is going to be such an important part, I think, of the Sony portfolio moving forward. As TV sales or, not delivering for them. I think this is going to be really important to the company.
It
so
is.
See how the company embraces it.
I feel bad for Sony corporate because, 25 years ago, Sony brand really meant something to all consumers. So you wanted a Sony stereo and a Sony VCR and then a Sony DVD player, Sony TV, and a PlayStation. People don't really care right now. They have mixed components. Apple kind of took that over maybe 10 years ago, and you wanted Apple everything. I think Samsung is the brand of the future, and they're not making a gaming console.
Yes.
So, I don't know that Sony's going to pull that back, but I think you're right. They're going to try. So I think it'll be an interesting press conference.
All right, and we will not see you in New York, right?
No, I'm going skiing with my family, and
that's good.
I'll watch on the webcast.
You can watch on your phone live on GameTrailers, right?
I will, and it'll be 6 o'clock in the evening, so I might actually have a glass of scotch as I watch.
All right, well, hopefully things will look 240 frames per second to you. Exactly. A few scotches. All right,
exactly.
All right, Michael Pachter, always a pleasure in the Pach-Attack. We will see you guys live in New York City on February 20th for the PlayStation Meeting 2013.
Is the next generation of gaming about to be revealed? On Wednesday, February 20th, be the first to know. Jeff Keighley and GT are live in New York City for the 2013 PlayStation Meeting. Complete wall-to-wall coverage, all the breaking news as it happens live. GT, your source for the PlayStation Meeting. Live coverage begins Wednesday, February 20th at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, worldwide on GT.